You're listening to Chat with the Experts, brought to you by Angie's List on 93 WIBC.
Welcome to Chat with the Experts, brought to you by Angie's List. My name is Kyle Hawk, and as always, I will be your host today. Whether this is your first time or your 50th time tuning in, we are happy you're with us. Our show here is all about providing you with the very best in home, health, and lifestyle topics, and we get all of our information straight from subject matter experts. If you missed us last week, we talked about recovering from disaster with the help of Brian Granger of RestoreX Disaster Restoration. And whether you're the victim of a flooded basement, you've had some fire and smoke damage, or maybe even an outbreak of mold, there is relief. And you're going to want to take a listen to this show. You can find it by subscribing to our podcast on iTunes. Just pull up iTunes on your home computer or the app on your iTunes app on your smartphone. Search Chat with the Experts. Hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on every show as we release it. You can also find us on YouTube. We post the videos of all these interviews up there. If you want to see our smiling faces while you listen, check it out on the Angie's List YouTube page. And of course, visit us at angieslist.com. This is where you're going to get helpful reviews of service providers in your area. And if you join today, you can use the promo code WIBC40. You're going to get 40% off an annual membership. And annual memberships are under $10 for the full year, so you really can't miss out on this. Check it out today at angieslist.com. Well, today we are putting our money where our mouth is with a show all about personal finance. And I tell you what, this is a huge topic, one that you likely think about every day, whether you realize it or not. And maybe you're paying off student debt or saving up for your first home, or maybe you're taking the first hard look at your financial practices and implementing a budget to shape your future spending. Whatever the case is, we're going to be tackling the topic head on today, and we hope that this will be a very helpful conversation for you. I'm really excited about our guest. He's an award-winning financial expert who's known around the nation for his financial advice and incredible wit. He's the author of 10 books on finance. He's a columnist for USA Today. He's the host of his own radio show right here on WIBC. And he's also been known to wear the heck out of a bow tie. It's the one and only Peter Dunn, also known as Pete the Planner. Pete, thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm excited to be here, Kyle. I like being a guest on a radio show as well as hosting it. It's fun to be on the other side of the table.
Yeah, I'm excited about it as well. And if you can't tell already, I'm a huge fan of yours, and I'm excited to talk about a number of different topics that we'll get into today. But I want to start by asking how you got into personal finance. I mean, this isn't a topic that people really love to talk about, but it's your career. What drew you to it?
I was a financial advisor early in my career, and I had two attorneys that were clients. And in the financial business, as you're prospecting to find clients, there's sort of, we call them sort of the video person, where you're watching a training video. Here are two young attorneys. They make great money. You're there to help them. And Kyle, they were a disaster financially. Terrible decision after terrible decision. So I had two choices. I could either find new clients, which I'm too lazy to do that, or figure out a way to fix them because all their issues, as we'll talk a lot about today, are behavior-related issues with their money. So I created this system of trying to help people understand how their behavior affects their financial lives. And so the Pete the Planner brand was born about 2005 or so.
Yeah. Well, you do so much and you bring such a unique angle to the conversation, and we're not going to be able to touch on everything today, but we at least want to hit some of the main points. And the big one for me, it's something that seems daunting to, I think, almost everyone that thinks about it, is making a budget. So I guess to get the ball rolling here, what are the first steps that you should take when you're thinking about your personal budget? I mean, is there really a one-size-fits-all approach to this?
No, there isn't, and that's what that stops people in their tracks, because you give advice for a living, and you help facilitate as a conduit of advice a lot of times.
Sure.
So you're on your show. Rules of thumb, people love them. Rule of thumb, they're stupid though. I mean, because they don't actually apply to a lot of situations. So the rule with budgeting for me is do whatever works, but don't do nothing. Right?
Yeah.
You can't do that. The one way that I find works the most is overly simplistic, but it works, and it takes 2 minutes. So it's, if I may I?
Oh, absolutely.
Grab your bank statement, grab 4 highlighters, and then highlight with the first color your beginning balance at the beginning of the month and ending balance at the end of the month. That tells you whether you had a shortage or a surplus. Right. Very simple. Second highlighter, highlight all your fixed expenses. This should more or less be the same every month.
Sure.
Most people don't know that information, but they should. Third marker, highlight your income, your deposits. Then the fourth marker is where the secret sauce is, and that's where you want to highlight the one category of spending that occurs the most frequently on the statement.
Okay.
Could be anything. Grocery store, dining out, QVC, if your name's my mom, whatever. Doesn't really matter. whatever it is, because that's the one behavior you have, which you do so frequently that you can afford to cut back on the behavior. It's not about spending less. It's about changing the behavior that causes money to be spent.
You know, that almost sounds so simple. And we live in a time, you know, really a great time, because there's so much conversation around this. It's not just the piggy bank or jar anymore.
Sure.
I mean, there's so many resources. There's software, there's spreadsheets. You're making it sound really simple. Is there a program or thing out there that is actually going to work or help somebody?
I have, you know, several websites. We have an e-learning platform. Technology is my world. But when it comes to this stuff, man, I'm manual, like a 3-ring binder. I want to touch it. I want to look at it. I want my wife to say, why did you go to that coffee shop 26 times this month?
Of course.
And you can't do that when the information's aggregated on an app.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Sometimes I think financial apps are a solution to a problem that doesn't exist, right? I mean, there's a big problem, but what they're solving isn't the problem at hand. I like an Excel spreadsheet and I like my bank statement, and that's all I need to know.
Yeah. You know, and talking about budget, like you mentioned, there's not a one-size-fits-all thing. It's very personal. Let's say somebody's listening today, they hear this like, wow, they've already got it printed out. They've got the highlighters, they're starting. Is that budget ever going to evolve or change as somebody's financial sense grows, as their lifestyle starts to change? I mean, what should change about your budget as your life goes on?
So your life changes and your priorities change, but a lot of times people's habits don't change. We have kids, education's our number. We want to send them to private school. Okay, cool. First of all, quit talking about it. It's getting a little obnoxious. Number two, you have to change your other spending. You can't go. Our number one priority is education. Now, we still go on elaborate vacations every year, but people don't shift their lifestyle to fit their priorities. Kyle, it's one of the biggest mistakes I see, especially for young families. Oh, travel sports. We want to have our kids travel for sports. Great. What are you cutting out?
Right.
Because you got to cut out something. And by the way, you're most likely cutting out college savings, just so you know.
Yeah.
Not the buzzkill everywhere.
Right.
But that's the truth.
Yeah, you never want to hear it. You know, you wrote this book series called Your Money Life. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later in the show, but I want to bring it up at this point because it really kind of breaks it down into different decades of people's lives. I mean, you obviously found this was a thing that people were confused by. They didn't have that information of how your finances should look at different stages of your life.
Yeah, I started thinking about there's no way a 22-year-old and 62-year-old have the same action steps. They still have to battle the behavior. Right. By the way, it's harder for the 62-year-old because they've got 40 years of bad behavior. Yeah. But the action steps are what matters. So we can philosophize. I don't think that's a word.
No,
should we regrip?
No, we got it.
We should philosophize. I'm going to have to Google that. That's embarrassing. We're going to have to, you can think about and theorize about how money works, but unless there's action, what's the point?
Right.
We need action. That's why that budget, that 2-minute budget with markers, it's impossible to not take action at that. Just do it. Right.
I mean, you know, that's one thing. And obviously it breaks down. It's so simple, but for some people, it's going to be hard to create that new behavior of following up on that. I may be able to print out once, do the highlighting. I mean, do you find that's a challenge for a lot of people, is to kind of follow through and take action over and over again?
Well, that's why accountability is so important. I mean, it's why if you have a significant other and you share finances, working separately is a bad idea. Now, you can have separate accounts, but work together. I mean, it's the accountability factor. If I walk downstairs and I'm wearing something that doesn't look great, and my wife goes, "Really, you're gonna wear that?" Like, I don't get mad. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so that's needed. This is hard. The personal training industry exists not because people don't know how to do push-ups. Sure. It's because they don't do push-ups.
Right.
And so from a personal finance standpoint, hey, Kyle, spend less than you make. Thanks. Have a good day. Then that's the only piece of advice that exists, but we need ways to get people to do it.
Yeah, no question about it. And I tell you what, you're the best dressed guest we've ever had in this studio.
That's an accident. It's an accident.
Okay. It's not normally like this because the pictures make it look like, you know, it's pretty stellar.
Just in case someone dies today, I want to be ready for the funeral. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're looking good.
Thank
and we are going to take a quick break here, but we're far from spent here on the show today. When we come back, we're going to talk with Pete the Planner about common questions that he gets when it comes to buying your first home, and maybe even how to tell if home ownership isn't right for you right now. There's a lot more that goes into this conversation than you may realize. We're going to dig into that here in just a bit. Stay tuned. You're listening to Chat with the Experts, brought to you by Angie's List.
Introducing the all-new Angie's List app, your on-the-go resource for great local service. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you can access ratings and reviews, shop offers, and request scheduling assistance from the palm of your hand. Submit and stay up to date on your projects. Redesigned and easy to use, the new Angie's List app makes getting more from your membership simple and convenient. Anytime, anywhere. Download the free Angie's List app on iTunes today.